Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Vanderpool. Today we are going to be talking about the federal bureaucracy. Now, we interact with bureaucracy and bureaucrats all the time, especially at the local level. So at the state level, a good example of bureaucracy would be the Department of Motor Vehicles or public schools. Employees of those public schools and the Department of Motor Vehicles would be good examples of state bureaucrats. At the local level, we interact with bureaucrats a lot as well. You interact with firefighters and police officers, and you also, of course, have federal bureaucrats. And the focus for today is going to be bureaucrats at the federal level. So what is bureaucracy? A large complex organization of appointed, not elected officials. Remember, at the top of the bureaucracy, the federal bureaucracy, you have appointed officials, and below them, you're going to have the civil service. So bureaucracy comes from the word bureau, which is French for small desks. It refers to the king's traveling businessmen who set up small desks in town squares. So bureaucracy could be referred to as the government of small desks. This idea came from a German economist named Max Weber. He was a famous early 20th century economist. He saw bureaucracy as a well-organized, complex machine that is a rational way for society to organize its business. So what was some of the characteristics of bureaucracy? There was a hierarchical authority structure, so there's a definitive chain of command. There's task specialization. Individuals have unique jobs. There's a division of labor between these individuals. You have extensive rules. You have clear policies for organizations, for bureaucrats. Bureaucrats are those that work for bureaucracy. So you have these clear policies that these bureaucrats have to follow. And then you have clear goals. Bureaucracy should have a clearly defined mission. Another important idea behind Weber and bureaucracy is the merit principle, the hiring and promotion based on qualities, no jobs for favors. So just because you know a powerful person doesn't mean you should get a job. You should get a job in the bureaucracy based on how well you do your job. That is the merit principle. Then you have impersonality. So performance is judged on productivity. That kind of goes back to the merit principle. Your performance is judged on productivity, not necessarily who you know. And so the debate rages on about whether these ideas are a good or bad way to organize society. Let's take a look at a modern bureaucracy. So modern bureaucracy grew quite a bit in 1932 to 1945, the New Deal, World War II, there's an increase in government programs, government work. 1950s to 1970s, you start seeing a little bit more implementation of the merit system. 90% of all federal employees are chosen on merit. Salaries are based on merit as well, in addition to how long you hold your job. So, who are bureaucrats? So some examples are the U.S. Postal Service, Amtrak, Corporation for Public Broadcasting, the Interstate Commerce Commission, the Federal Trade Commission, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. And we're going to be researching some of these different bureaucracies in class. All right, so what do bureaucrats do? They take discretionary action, so they have the power to execute laws and policies passed down by the president or Congress. So they execute what the policymakers create. So the Congress passes a law. Ultimately, it is the job of the president to enforce it through the help of this discretionary action of the bureaucrats, because they are going to be the ones ultimately who are on the street level interacting with people and are going to make decisions on how the law is going to be implemented, which gets to our next point, which is implementation. So bureaucrats are going to develop procedures and rules for reaching the goal of a new policy. Bureaucrats also regulate. They check private business activity. So Munn versus Illinois, there the Supreme Court upheld that government had a right to regulate business rates and services. Now, bureaucrats and bureaucracy is accountable. So bureaucracy is constrained and controlled by the US government. Congress holds bureaucrats accountable. They appropriate money so they can take money away from various government organizations. They authorize the spending of money. They oversee agency activity. The president makes those top job appointments, issues executive orders, controls the budget, reorganizes agencies. So the president has a great ability to influence the federal bureaucracy as well. So the Congress of the president makes sure that the federal bureaucracy does what it needs to do. One of the criticisms of bureaucracy and bureaucrats, however, is that while these politicians will come and go, the bureaucrats hold on to their jobs for a long period of time. So sometimes they know the ins and outs of governance even better than the politicians. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on here. See you in the next video.